Does Bill Belichick eventually deserve to go in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Well, obviously he does. But am I surprised that voters punished him by making him wait 1 year? Not at all. Bill Belichick did not deserve to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame on the first ballot. I have first guessed this over and over and over again for the last 10, 12, 15 years. And every point I'm about to make, I planted flags on 10, 12, 15 years ago, and I'll drive home every point for you right here, right now. Just read the ESPN breakdown of this. Associates close to Belichick say he was puzzled by this and said, 6 Super Bowls isn't enough. This is so much deeper than just the 6 Super Bowls on the surface. Obviously, the main reason that Bill Belichick was punished was Spygate. I mean, the winningest NFL coach ever, the great Don Shula, winner of 3 NFL championships, 2 Super Bowls, publicly called Belichick Belicheat after Spygate, in which he was busted, turned in by his former defensive coordinator, Eric Mangini, then the head coach of the Jets, who warned Belichick the week before, don't do this to me, don't cheat, don't tape my signals so you can break them down at halftime. Belichick did. Eric turned him in. Rest is history. I don't know what happened to all the evidence. Went up in smoke. Can't wait for the documentary on this. Maybe it'll be a 30 for 30. Obviously, that mattered greatly to voters, and so did Deflategate. You cannot tell me that Bill Belichick didn't know everything that was going on with underinflated footballs because he knew his quarterback liked to throw slightly underinflated footballs. They all have their quirks and their pet peeves and their likes and dislikes. Brady readily admitted he liked it slightly underinflated, but not illegally underinflated. And Belichick hastily called a big press conference just before they left to go to that Super Bowl that year in Phoenix and reached for the my cousin Vinny analogy. Remember this? And said, I'm not Mona Lisa Vito, if you know the movie, who knew everything about cars, is how the case was won. And Belichick said, I don't know anything about, no, he knows everything about footballs. That's why he had wet footballs, just drowned footballs for practices before they were going to play in the rain. He knew everything. He knew what was happening. Tom Brady was so angry about Deflategate that he successfully fought it through one round of court. And then when it went to appeals court, he had to finally drop the case because the season was upon him, and he didn't want to be a distraction not only to his team, but in his preparation to get ready for the next football season after they had won yet another Super Bowl, that one over Seattle. But remember what Tom Brady did in the second half of the turn-in game when Indianapolis and the GM turned in the Patriots and went to the referees at halftime of that game. It was 17-7 Patriots at that point. And the footballs were all properly inflated to legal limits or standards. And yeah, Brady went out in the second half and won it 28-0 and threw a party on those Colts. 28-0, then went to the Super Bowl, the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, properly inflated footballs, threw another party on the Legion of Boom with 124 yards passing and 2 touchdowns and no picks in the fourth quarter as they rallied to beat the Seahawks, thanks ultimately to some little kid from West Alabama. Somebody named Malcolm Butler intercepted the ball at the goal line. Don't get me started. But I first guessed all this going back at least 10 years ago when I started to say that Tom Brady was 75% of the Patriots dynasty, and I gave Belichick 25%. But you have to credit Brady with at least 75%. Because if you start to look hard at Belichick without Brady, this mattered to these voters. So he starts off 5 years at Cleveland before he got fired as the head coach. He went 36-44 and made the playoffs one year, did win one playoff game and lost the next, but 36-44. Then he goes to New England with a second chance, and he goes 5-11 in the first season. And then in season 2, they were losing their first 2 games when a 6th-round pick named Tom Brady sort of fell out of the heavens into Belichick's lap. Belichick didn't push to draft Tom Brady. I had one coach on that staff tell me that he was ready to put his house up for sale because he did not think they were going to last the rest of that 2001 season until Brady fell out of heaven. And you know the rest of the story, championship story. So once Tom Brady was pushed out the back door, mostly by Bill Belichick, who wanted to show that he and he alone could win a championship without Tom Brady. Once Brady was pushed out the door and went straight down to Tampa during the pandemic and won yet another Super Bowl in his first crack with the team that had gone 7-9 the season before. After Brady was pushed out the back door by Bill Belichick went 29-38 as the head coach of the Brady-less Patriots. 29-38. He made the playoffs one time in 4 seasons and coached one playoff game at Buffalo, obviously against Josh Allen and company. Lost it 37-17, but obviously Belichick's prowess, his legacy was based on his ability to coach defense, greatest defensive coordinator ever, defensive genius. Josh Allen's offense never was forced to punt a single time in that game, 37-17. That was the only playoff game that Bill coached the Patriots to and through after Tom Brady. So if we tally up Belichick without Brady as a head coach, he was 65-82. Say it again, 65 wins to 82 losses. That means he lost 27 more games than he won without Tom Brady as a head coach. His playoff record without Brady was 1-2, obviously. So 8 of 10 seasons without Tom Brady, Bill Belichick missed the playoffs. 8 times in 10 seasons without Tom Brady, he missed the playoffs. That mattered to Hall of Fame voters. 65-82 mattered to Hall of Fame voters. Then after Kraft finally fired Belichick, Bill made himself available through a hiring cycle in which there were 8 vacancies for head coaches in the National Football League. 8 vacancies, unfilled jobs. Bill interviewed for several, especially Atlanta, and nobody hired him. That mattered to voters. So he takes the North Carolina college football job, and in his first year there, the program is turned into a national laughingstock, mostly by Belichick's 24-year-old girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, as he called her, his muse, who seemed to be sort of helping to run the program with Belichick. A national laughingstock Carolina became because of that. And was Belichick able to right the wrong on the football field? No. Despite all of his work and the money spent in the college football portal, his first North Carolina college football team went 4-8 and didn't go to a bowl game. 4-8. That also mattered to Pro Football Hall of Fame voters. So did Bill's treatment of many of the longtime reporters who have votes in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, because, as everybody knows, Bill was just relentlessly and mercilessly aloof and condescending to reporters year after year after year as a head football coach in New England, even, for that matter, in Carolina. But he was, as you know, Bill always shrugging off nearly every pertinent and fair reporter's question, with some mumbled non-answer. He was always on to Cincinnati. We're on to Cincinnati. He was always that way. And ultimately, that mattered to Pro Football Hall of Fame voters. The truth is, I've never understood why coaches, after they retire or are fired or whatever, leave the NFL, they have to wait only 1 year to be eligible to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, while players have to wait 5 years. What? I never got this. But the reason Belichick was in this voting cycle is because he's been out of the NFL the 1 year that you have to be out. That doesn't seem fair to me. The players have to wait 5. Tom Brady has to wait 5. But here's the final irony to today's shocking news, not shocking to me, but probably to you, is that finally, after all these years, Bill Belichick is being turned into something that he always wanted to be, which was a lovable, sympathetic figure. Now everybody's lashing out at the Pro Football Hall of Fame voters in support of poor Bill Belichick, who deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Yes, he does. Just not on the first ballot. And I think I just closed the case as to why.